Howdy, this is Finch in Fiction, or WolfFox13 in this case. This is a pretty long video, actually, of, the first World Assembly meeting of the KingdomsMC's server. And so, yeah, enjoy.
Okay.
He said, I'm mad.
Silvio, your
Alright.
chair is...
Do you want us all to mute right now?
Wait.
Are you gonna... Oh, wait, there's a stage. We should all go to the
everyone,
stage.
yeah, I'm moving everyone, no problem. I'll move everyone.
Oh, okay, I see.
And...
Oh, is it gonna change my OBS?
One sec, I'll be back.
I can't get in. Can someone let me in?
Oh, Crunchy's probably gotta let you in.
I can let him in.
No, I'm stuck outside the building. I can't get in.
Oh, wait, I'm trusting too.
Should we invite post-prison to the call?
He's listening. He can't talk though. He's at a party.
Okay, oh my god. Yeah, Jelly, you can speak.
Alright, after you do kind of your introductory, and then Coptop or Mart gives their speech, then we'll have introductions, and then I will...
That's just all I
give my
wanted to say
speech.
is that people needed to do introductions. So y'all can go ahead and do your all's introductions. Let me give one by one people permission to speak. So here.
I'm inviting River, and then I'm gonna go ahead and mute.
Who wants to start? Just here, Rick. Rick, speak. Speak. It's your cue, Rick.
I didn't realize I was muted. Sorry. Someone killed my pig when I was coming in. Why?
That's all you wanted to say. Seriously, dude.
Rude.
Here, Mr. Tibb.
Hello, I'm King Tib of Atlantis. Alright, yes.
Okay.
Hello. I am the representative of Bruce Merck since Agent got fired.
Hi, this is WolfFox. I am representing Roavin of the Nation of Shrill. And that is it.
Oh, shit. Sorry.
I am Sleezus of Radiance.
Good evening. I am Incomplete River of Chardee.
I think that's everyone. Did I miss anyone?
Yes.
But I didn't.
Yes, you did.
Hello, I am Lemonade Sorbet from Mistral.
Everyone hear me? Hi. I am Aspen representing a Trill Queen. Hello. Okay, goodbye.
Okay. So let's here. Jelly, could you give your speech?
Alright, greetings and salutations. It's me, your boy, Jelly Belly. And as a thank you for coming, I have the jelly beans of peace for everyone. Today's kind of meeting is going to be establishing kind of the first kind of committees and chairs in order to be better organized for the Second World Assembly meeting. And so, what I want to do is to parsec and brainstorm ideas of different kind of committees that we can establish. And so we'll have a thread to do that after the meeting. And then we can just sign up and delegate specific kind of towns. You know, if you're wanting to protect nature, then there'll be the Eco Conservation Committee. If you're wanting to be more economics driven, then you can be kind of in the Merchantiles Guild or whatever. And then next meeting, we'll just have the department chairs of each committee kind of give their speeches and then let us know what's going on in the world. And so I did want to open the floor to discussion about the justice system. I know Mr. Tibb has mentioned that he's wanting to write kind of a code of ethics and code of laws. Do we have any kind of ideas on the main points that should be added to kind of the World Assembly conduct? All right, and then I'll relinquish the floor.
Okay, so citizens, leaders, and visionaries from across the realms. Today, we stand not as separate kingdoms, but as one assembly, bound not by force, but by the shared will to build something greater than ourselves. This hall is more than a place, it is a promise. A promise that dialogue will triumph over silence, that ideas will outshine fear, and that even in a world built on conflict, there is a space for progress. The land we now gather on was once forgotten, but from the ruins, we did not rebuild a monument to the past, we built a platform for the future. The World Assembly opens today with no single ruler, no single voice, but many. And each of you, whether builder, farmer, warrior, or diplomat, carries the weight and hope of those you represent. So I ask you now, what kind of future do you want to create? The floor is open. Let the first voices of the assembly be bold. Anyone want to start? Go ahead.
Good evening once again. I would love to propose the establishment of a World Security Council. The purpose of this World Security Council would be in order to maintain a strong level of military cooperation between many nations, and to ensure that there is equal balance among them, and so we can essentially do what the UN does with their World Security Council in mediating conflicts and helping out in that area. Any
Okay.
thoughts on this?
Let's go one at a time. There.
Perfect.
Oh, I had my own proposal. Or,
Just let's finish this real quick.
yeah, that's good.
Right. So one of the things that I wanted to put in this document that eventually me and Jelly and all of you will work on was it goes off of what you wanted, River, was the security thing. It was called GUN, which would stand for Guard, Unify, and Negate. Basically, the idea is that every meeting there would be chosen 3 different towns that usually probably bigger ones that act as a world police force, and these towns will be cycled through and voted on every assembly, which will hopefully be bi-weekly or even once a month. But basically, the idea is that each of the major towns, or even smaller towns, would be in charge of guarding the wilderness for new players and whatnot, and protecting against like bandits or people who just roam the wilderness in general. So that was kind of the rough idea I had for that.
Mhm.
That's all I wanted to say.
Cool.
Awesome.
How would we stop larger communities from taking over the Security Council?
Well, I haven't gotten that far in this thinking. This is the process I came up with less than about 2 minutes ago. But what we could do as a possibility is utilize bureaucracy, right? Create a system that gives no single nation or alliance a certain amount of power, and allow balance to be held, and even put possibly historically competing nations on the council in order to balance votes out. Obviously, much to be discussed within this, but that's just my thinking.
I have no more thoughts.
Any other comments or questions y'all want to ask?
I think that we've seen some really good points from River, Sleazus and others, and then we can form kind of the committee or the kind of WA defense committee or whatever you folks want to name yourselves. And so we'll definitely create a thread that anyone who has kind of interest in this committee's development, how it should be organized and ran, can work together and collaborate throughout the next 2 weeks. And then when the Second World Assembly comes, then we can get kind of a review and analysis of kind of what you folks have drafted and come up with. So I think that would be um, a good kind of topical discussion to bring up to the next meeting.
Okay.
Perfect. I will cede the floor.
I have a question regarding. Actually, you know what? Never mind. We can talk about it during the thread.
Okay.
Awesome. I'm good to move on whenever anyone else is. Oh, we have one more
One
question.
sec. Someone else has one more question. Yeah.
Would we let warring nations and towns serve on the Security Council?
To be determined.
I receive the floor.
Okay. Anyone else have any other questions before we move on? Okay, milestone. Good.
So, what are y'all creating? Are y'all creating like a government of some sort?
No, this is a World Security Council, or the gun acronym, which I very much appreciate. Essentially, it is a council that is a subsection of the World Assembly, made out of a certain group of nations that is meant to help mediate conflict, not necessarily stop conflict or try to create peace, but to mediate it and act as essentially a military council that oversees that.
Okay.
So I think that's all the questions for now. Let's move on to something else. Okay, so I see, Nico, you have an idea.
Howdy. Alright, so I would like to suggest something kind of like how River was saying, like a council about like military, but something a little bit different. I know like we all like having a lot of land, especially if you like building a lot, but I would like to have like a committee where people would kind of mutually agree to leave some land for towns that are newer, so they're able to grow. And I would also like, just part of my personal beliefs, that we should leave some land for just like public use, so like hunting, like growing and farming trees, just that kind of thing. So there isn't really going to be any like big towns kind of just taking over a bunch of land where people can't really like get what they need, especially in the smaller biomes like acacia and like jungle, that kind of stuff. But yeah, pretty much. But like the main use for it would be kind of just I don't want to say, I don't know. It's just kind of just so newer towns have room to grow and not being kind of landlocked or like stuck in a little spot where they can't really go anywhere. Yeah, it's kind of used to slow large towns from expanding, but it's also just so other people can benefit from the land and not just one town benefiting. Yeah. But
Okay, anyone have any
yeah.
comments? Anyone have any comments? Let's start with Wolf.
So would this be a part of like a larger like mapping guild group committee, or would this be specifically for zoning and not really have anything to do with map making?
I mean, it could be used for map making, but it's mainly just for like.
Because I feel like there
I don't
should
know, it's just
be some designation of like where lands hit each other, but I do agree that they shouldn't have to like claim all of the land in an area just to own it, you know? And
yeah,
people can still get what they need and build when they're new and stuff.
yeah. And like I feel there's a few towns that just kind of are taking up land and aren't doing anything with it. So I feel like there should be, I don't know if we're able to incorporate that, but some kind of like on top of upkeep, like a land tax that would be charged on people who just aren't having land and aren't really doing anything with it or aren't planning to do anything with it. So we can like let other people, use the resources that are available within those, borders. But like back to your question, it wouldn't really be used for mapping specifically. It'd probably just be for like resource gathering kind of thing.
Okay. But now, like, a second question, and sorry, I see there's a lot of hands poking up here.
Go for it.
So I'll make it quick. So, what would you suggest this tax be, and like who would receive the tax? Would it be the World Assembly, or?
Well, it would be a committee, so I feel like the tax would be claimed by the committee, which we could use towards public projects, so things that could help other people out, whether that's like, somebody is like sick and they need, they're not able to, come in for a little bit, kind of like what happened with me when I was in the hospital, where we could use that to help them. Or if somebody needs like resources desperately for a build that they want to use to benefit others, then we could help supply some money to help them like get that done.
Okay, no further questions.
Okie dokie.
Okay. Let's move on to another person.
Although I do believe that this is a good idea, I don't think it'll be too much of a problem at this moment, especially since somewhat soon, under the owner and admin, hopefully we're planning to expand the border, and resources aren't all too scarce. Money is very cheap for new player, or money. I said this. Food is very cheap for new players to purchase from anywhere, especially from voting. So I don't, though I think like a land conservation committee would be eventually a good idea once the server grows a lot more. Don't think it's very necessary right now.
Okay, but I mean, kind of based off what I've heard, the border expansion isn't gonna be as large. I think I'm not sure. Martyr Top would have to correct me. I think it's gonna probably be around like 500 or to like 1,000 or something like that. But even it gets to a point where the server is gonna keep growing and growing and growing, and there's or as is like there's more than enough towns to the point where sooner or later, if they become active or get a bunch more people, or if we get like a flood of people, uh, the world border expansion might not be enough just off of the terrain that we're getting, because really the only like advantage that we would be getting from the expansion would be to the west, because the east is mainly water and the north is mainly water, and the south there's a few coastal islands there, but like it's pretty much like just to conserve land for like towns and kind of keep like some sort of agriculture, like natural agriculture, where people aren't just like mass producing mobs, to kind of keep it somewhat cost effective to have your own animals, because like yeah, like with the border expansion, obviously there's gonna be more land, so there's gonna be more mob spawns and all that, right? But as of right now, there are probably more than enough animals within the borders, and then the amount is gonna keep growing, and we already had something where there was lag because of too many mobs, like in certain parts. So I feel like having them more sporadic would be really good. We wouldn't have to deal with, the same issue. But yeah.
Okay. Alrighty.
Anyone else have any other comments they want to add? Okay.
So, I'm wondering whether we could make something like the Cartographer Guild part of the World Assembly as one of the factions that deals with territory claims.
Yeah. Well, kind of the button. I would, if this were to become something that would happen, I would want it within my town, because I feel like myself, I am very adamant about keeping a lot of I want to keep a lot of things natural. I don't want it to be like slam packed with a bunch of builds just all over the place. Like I want, I feel like a lot of people would agree that just keeping a little bit of like the spruciness that the seed just has to offer would be really nice.
Yes.
And
another. Oh, carry on.
I'll go for it.
Another question. With the somewhat zoning committee that's being suggested, would there also be a committee dedicated to transportation around the world, like roads and other things?
Well, that wouldn't be that wouldn't really be associated with the land protection or zoning or whatever you want to call it. That would be more up to someone else because that's kind of a different topic, I guess you would say.
I just think connecting towns between, with roads between, would get towns to be more interconnected, as well as having the authority of the World Assembly make it so that the roads would be protected more from
Mhm.
creeping and other
Yeah.
things similar.
But kind of back to what Fox mentioned, we could, like, I would rather keep it sprucey, you know? I feel like it's pretty common, but we could also just use mapping to kind of show a way to get there without having to kind of just plow through like a forest or like two forests and a mountain. You know, we could just have, you know, some kind of trail or like a scenic route that could be used to get from town to town that would still be efficient, but just without, uh, you know, like massacring some kind of nature reserve that we would want to keep.
Mhm. Okay. Rick, do you have anything else to say?
Nope.
Okay. Uh, so here we go.
For one, would it actually? I'm concerned about any areas being in particular cities. Like, I believe every committee should be centered in the World Assembly area.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if you're completely aware, but I I mean, I would consider Witherbloom to be in the area, considering that it's like less than like 45 blocks away at most. So we could definitely have some kind of building for the committee set up in between or closer towards the World Assembly side if that would make, you know, a lot of people happy.
I don't know. I think it would probably, I believe, just it'd be better for a lot of institutions that are World Assembly based to be located within the Assembly. Although they probably should have stuff there in other cities, of course. Like, if an area is managing conservation, then it should have an office maybe, but it shouldn't be the headquarters of
Yeah,
any
well,
World Assembly institution.
yeah. So, you know, if this becomes a thing and you plan on contributing, I could definitely have something set up where we could have something closer or even in the World Assembly if that's good with Crunchy, and then we could have something uh more influential within Witherbloom, where it would be for like meetings or making like big decisions that would need like a group opinion.
Well, with that, I also want to briefly say roads would absolutely be a different department. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
there's
That
absolutely a need to set up more roads across the world, but it's not a part of land conservation or anything like that.
yeah, yeah. That I
Roads
kind of
aren't
just
particularly destructive, so they don't really need to be involved in conservation.
yeah, that's what I was kind of trying to say that. I didn't really want to butt into that too much. I just wanted to be like we could just do trails where people could kind of make their own, but yeah.
That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Uh, any other comments by any chance?
I see there's cop tops, fool. There's bird.
People want to make a comment? Or
I don't know. It's just raised hands. I'm just assuming.
because it might be for a new topic, so I just want to make sure. Okay, I think this is like mostly done. So
Yeah.
let's let something. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
There.
I would like to propose a committee of infrastructure for collaborative projects such as roads and the aqueduct.
Okay, so anyone have any questions or comments about it?
So to Slesius's proposal, we will be setting up a department of transportation that oversees, any type of transit, whether it be roads, boating, if we ever set up a dolphin highway, or the ice tunnel transportation. And so we will be establishing a network of ice boating tunnels that utilizes the World Assembly as the hub, since it is a neutral ground, so that not one nation can control access to other towns. And then if there are war, or political disputes, we wouldn't see access to transportation being cut off. And so, kind of to your point, Slesius, and then to the previous point made, we want to make sure that it is separate and is a different committee from the zoning or the kind of land committee, if you will. So we will be establishing that.
I do agree it has to be separate from the zoning
Mhm.
committee.
You want a cake
Right.
pop?
No, I agree. Now, in relation to kind of collaboration with the zoning committee, absolutely. We would be more than happy to do kind of joint ventures. If there's a large, motorway that needs to be done, or even like a boating canal to allow easier transport either inland or across sea to sea. Those types of developments can be handled by this transportation committee. So, um, what I'll do is I'll open the floor to any kind of discussions or questions. And Crunchy, I'll let you bring people in.
I've got
Okay.
something else as well, real quick, Crunchy.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, no problem.
Any builds built by the World Assembly and its infrastructure core, we would have to take measures to ensure they wouldn't be blockaded or interrupted by any warring states or rogue towns. How would the council prepare for that?
So what you're asking is, in the, could you repeat your question real quick? Sorry.
So, say we built a road from,
Mhm.
let's say, Radiance to World Assembly. How would World Assembly ensure that this public work would not be blockaded or interfered by any enemies of either World Assembly or Radiance?
So in the like where you want to build a road, I think it's more or less useful for everyone. So I don't think even if someone interfered with it as an enemy, the way we would work with it, we would move it maybe to accommodate more to how to move away from whoever's has a problem with it, like what happened with the aqueduct in Camarucho. They moved it more to the left. They're gonna move it more to the left now because they didn't want it to be next to them. So I think if to make the sorry for the to accommodate for the roads and stuff, I think it won't be much of a problem.
Oh my gosh, just open
But we've seen in the past how it has been a problem.
Mhm. I'll let other people comment on it and then I'll continue.
Bonbon?
Okay.
You want it like this or a fork?
This is fine.
Yeah, Jelly. Go ahead.
Are they hard? Close hard?
So this would be something that we would need to spend some time in the committee kind of thread to discuss, maybe even have a meeting kind of like next week. But I think the easiest simple answer would be reaching out through diplomatic means first, but reserving kind of the defense force as a last resort, right? As to where if there is a agreed upon, motorway, whether it be boating or a highway or whatever, essentially tearing down the wall, give or take. So I know that's not like clear cut, and it's not well defined, but we definitely need to address this as a committee, and I think we can do so, and would love kind of your involvement, Sleezius.
Okay, so I think someone else wants to comment on it. Let's see.
I would just like to make the comment that if someone could, in the World Assembly, make a thread for every point that is brought up, so that people can discuss and give suggestions relative to those threads, that would be good, and if it
No,
could
yeah,
happen
for
sooner
sure.
rather than later.
Yeah,
For sure.
we will be creating, like, at the assembly hall. It'll be the committees, or WA departments. I'll probably just name it committees because that's the colloquial term I've been utilizing. So yeah, we can design threads there, and then I'll add you in it, Rick, if you want me to.
So, as Jelly said, replying to you, Sleezes, it might not be something that you can solve in like one meeting. So I think it more or less has to be taking the time to actually be thought out of. So I think we should first of all create a thread and then maybe talk about it more in depth later on.
All right, I like that.
Okay. Anyone else want to comment on that? Here's Phil.
I just have to say something about the seating. There's kids running around everywhere and standing on chairs. There needs to be better organization.
Honestly, I don't know how I'm supposed to fix this, bro.
Enforce it.
I mean, you can turn PvP on and we can
Start
attack
killing
them.
everyone.
Oh goodness.
Okay.
Maybe separate
No,
the
we
council
give them a
floor
warning,
and then have a door.
Okay, so let's go back to normal topic. Tib, one comment.
Right, sorry. One thing we could do to enforce people like sitting and not being obnoxious is making everyone obviously put their armor and weapons like away or in like a chest or something. But then we should have several armed guards ready to just like I don't know, like start like attacking or maybe like a quick hit to um like warn them and whatnot. The only problem is I feel like people like Akuko or just people that don't want to take this serious, they probably would just keep their armor on them just in case. So the problem is how do we make sure people do not come with armor or any kind of weapon?
See,
If
I
they
think we're
refuse,
drifting
then they won't be welcome into the meeting.
Okay, so I think we're drifting away from the topic, so I think that's done. Let me move on
Yeah, I
to
relinquish the floor. We're all good.
Okay. So okay. We can enforce it by not allowing them again. It's more or less how we're gonna make weapons not be a thing. This is more or less like just a start. So it's not like the best organization because we're still figuring out how the assembly should go and how it will go. So I
It's
think
why I'm
later on,
suggesting it.
yeah, later on it'll be a thing. I'm gonna have chests set up for every single town to deposit their weapons and armor, just for no conflict.
Okay.
Mhm.
Alright, cool. I
Okay.
relinquish the floor.
Wolf, I remember you having an idea, but then I never followed up on that, so you can take the floor.
Hello. Rovan would like to put forth the idea of a, I don't know if it'd be like National, International Assembly, whatever, lore records council, or like committee that would be in charge of recording history, building libraries, collecting books, and all that, anything along those lines, basically. Keeping track of religions and nations and history and like lineages and things like that.
So, anyone want to comment on that and see what if they have any like ideas for it? No. Oh, okay.
So this is kind of like a historical society, correct?
Yes.
Cool. I think that if we're going to do a land management council, this could be incorporated into that. I feel like it might be a little bit redundant to have them be separate, considering they're both kind of smaller tasks that could be very much done by the same council and are in the same vein as that. Any thoughts on that?
I would tend to disagree, just because like one is like land management and like nature management, and like while ours is more like information management, and maybe like the establishment of like a World Assembly newspaper. But
yeah, no, I get that. The only reason I do.
But
say
I
is
see your
because,
through line. I see your through line.
Yeah, if we start to get too many different councils and organizations, it's gonna become very bureaucratic, and things are gonna get very, very slow, very, very quickly. That's the only reason that I do think it would be wise to combine some councils, right?
I do agree.
No, okay. So, anything you want to add on that?
I'm all done.
Anyone else want
I
to
see
go ahead
Sleezus
and say
and
something?
Nico or Neko or.
Oh no,
and
Nico
Rick.
wants a new topic.
Okay.
I'm waiting.
Back to his comment about putting the two together, I think you're vastly underestimating the time commitment it will take to record history and events in an accurate and nice way. It would be too much for that to be mixed on with the land committee for what I assume is going to be maybe 4 people at max for a single committee. It's not going to be many people in one committee, so overburdening a committee is going to make everything actually go slower rather than faster.
Anyone want to comment on that? No. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so anyone want to comment on Wolf's topic before I move on to the next? Nope. Thanks, Bird, for the. I mean, Wolf. I keep getting confused. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Thanks for. Okay. Here, go ahead. You go.
Yay. Alright. I would like to propose a international like an economic standard for certain items. Like nothing in specific. Like I'm kind of looking for suggestions, but like I would really like to have standards on a lot of things because I feel like a lot of undercutting is causing just like small conflicts that shouldn't be happening. I don't like it's not really I don't know, I don't really have anything specific. I'm just looking for suggestions. And if I could get enough people on board, then I could definitely have something set up. But like meeting or something.
I actually was also planning on putting that in the big document that me and Jelly were going to make. And a lot of people in the chat are saying free markets, and I do believe in a free market for most supplies. I don't think there should be a cap or anything that really limits the amount things can be like sold for, other than a bare minimum. I think the biggest issue right now is things like diamonds and netherite. Those are definitely the two most important things. And I think there should be a committee that establishes the minimum prices for those. And though there isn't a crazy way to enforce this, we could figure out a way for Gun to enforce this. But also establishing something like this nationally, obviously we'd have to vote for it, I believe, to enact it. But I think it would also be a really good like world building opportunity for everyone to make like black markets and whatnot. And if it's found, that is very, very punishable. But yeah, no, because when I originally started, netherite was $80 and diamonds were $1.20, and now netherite is like $60 and diamonds are 65 cents. So it's a bit insane. Makes it if we don't regulate this, there could be severe either inflation or deflation on the server, which is very bit ridiculous because then everybody can just have a lot of money, and it would just be annoying.
Yeah.
Everybody like would be, oh, if netherite gets to the point of $10, you get like voting crates might have to be nerfed, but
yeah. So kind of
Mark's a
building off.
racist because he just put white market anyway. But.
Yeah. So kind of building off what you said earlier. The standard. I mean, well, the original idea was that I would want to establish a minimum, but I would also like to have some sort of extremes established where people couldn't just completely ruin like the value of an item just because they want to benefit off it and undercut other people and make money off it, and then nobody else is gonna have a chance to make any money.
Right.
You know what I mean?
There's always that risk you run with like some person that just doesn't care about the world building or economy or anything and would probably sell netherite for like $5.
Well,
there's that risk as well.
Like, I'm not sure. I'm sure some of the people in here remember when the capital was in at one point when they were trying to sell like mending and netherite for like dirt cheap, and that was kind of why I wanted to start it, because I feel like when people decide to just go on and like drop prices of a valuable item just for their own personal benefit, it's selfish, and that could easily cause like drama for no reason, which could lead to bigger issues, which nobody wants. I'm sure everybody wants to have at least a somewhat neutral server where there's no constant wars going on. Like, we want to have fun. And
yeah, unfortunately though, a lot of people in the chat are very disagreeing, so this probably won't happen.
I mean,
all I'd like to say.
Regardless of what what people are gonna say, it's all just like personal preference and opinion, right?
Yeah.
Like, if a bunch of people are disagreeing, well, that's their opinion, and if they have a question that might validate my reasoning, then they can come up and bring it to my attention.
Okay, let's move on to the next comment if we can.
Yeah,
Sleezus here, go ahead.
The market shall be free. If someone starts selling netherite ingots for $1 a piece, how long do you think they could do this for?
Well,
the market will self-correct, and the price will stabilize out.
Okay, but what you have to understand is that even if they sell it for $1, the economy's gonna get worse because without competition, the economy's gonna fucking explode.
So in
You
this
know,
situation, you're assuming that someone has infinite netherite for $1?
well, it's not infinite netherite. It's assuming that the world expansion is coming, right? Which is gonna give us a lot more access and a lot more frequent access to netherite, right? And then there's gonna be people who are gonna buy and resell, which is totally fine, right? They're gonna be buying from people and then reselling it. And in the case of something like that happening, I would hope that they're not gonna drop it that low, or even buying it for that low. And like, assuming that infinite netherite would be part of my argument is kind of irrelevant because there's always going to be netherite in rotation, similar to the real life economy. Like, it's kind of like you have to establish an extreme where that's like saying, oh, Jeff Bezos has like $180 billion, so he has all the money in the United States. Like, that doesn't, that, like, it's the same way where netherite is constantly being found, the same way that money is constantly being printed. So that's not really a valid argument.
Does the market not already regulate itself via the availability of materials?
Well, as of right now, it's getting more and more scarce until the
How
expansion
so?
happens. Because the expansion hasn't happened yet. It's from the announcement, it's probably gonna be soon. I would hope within the next month or so, but
Do you think the world expansion is going to encourage more people to mine for netherite?
yeah, because there's more room and more undiscovered land where people can go to get more resources. It's going to be the same thing for gold and wood. Like, everything that has any sort of value is going to be more in demand when that expansion happens because it's going to be more like it's going to be easier to get because there's like the main source of whatever that might be is going to be a lot larger. So, like, I can't really explain it as well, but
While I understand what you're getting at, the market would self-regulate in that situation by lowering the price because the availability is going up, correct?
I mean, not necessarily.
Why not?
Just, I mean, there could be people that literally just go in the mines and just live there and literally just mine all day, all night, get all the nether they can. Let's say they get like 20 ingots, just as an example. They could sell it for whatever they want, but until they run out, like, people are gonna buy it, and then it's just gonna completely like ruin the value until
If they spent 40 hours mining for netherite, is it not their right to sell at whatever price they seem appropriate?
I mean, it is. I mean, that's their decision, but I feel like it's not really great for the economy because if somebody's selling it for $1, like you originally said in your statement, like somebody would just buy all the stock and then resell it for a really low price. Because if it's $1, they could sell it for $10 and just 10x their profit.
But if
And then it's
you
gonna
couldn't
stay
afford
that low.
$10, you would have to go mine for it yourself, correct?
What?
Netherite isn't only available through buying, so if the price gets too high, people will go out and get it themselves.
Okay. I don't understand how that's relevant to my statement at all.
Because that would make the value go down, right, Nico?
I mean, it would, but again, as I said, it's gonna be frequent for a set amount of time. Like, it's not the amount of resources of any resource pretty much is finite until we decide that we want it to be, you know, hard to get. Because if we all just unanimously agree that, oh, we want netherite to be worth a lot, we could just all use it on tools and armor and everything, right? And at that point, the value is gonna skyrocket, and then it's gonna be too expensive for a lot of people.
I've made my point. I'm not gonna take up any more of the floor, but I do not agree, Nico.
Are y'all done, or do we move on to the next person who wants to speak?
I'm done, Crunchy.
Yeah, he was finished.
Okay. I think personally, since it's really controversial and there's a lot to talk about right now, or Mort, go ahead. Go ahead, Mort. Sorry.
GB, let's go.
Hey, Mark.
Finally. First of all, I just like to make clear, you should not make decisions based on a promise. For example, a promise on the world being expanded. To start off.
I know, but it was just off like an example.
Absolutely. Second of all, when you regulate prices, where does free will really come in? Why would you, as an individual who's starting out, try to go in competition with the market? Why would you try to join the market and try to sell your own netherite ingots if you're not going to be able to in any way be competitive?
How would you not be able to be competitive?
Because you would have the same price as everyone else.
I mean, but that's not what I was going for. The standard was that there would be a minimum amount for a quantity. So
Precisely, and at the
yeah.
end, everyone's gonna get to that amount. That's what people would try to, because that's how the market works. Try to outsell the other. Eventually, it's gonna get to that price you're naming, that X price. It is going to get to that. And now, a player that wants to join the market and try to sell their own product is not gonna be able to be competitive in any way. So why would he even join the market in the first place?
It's completely up to the person. What you're saying is assuming that, you know, everybody has an even amount, right? And it's also depending on marketing. So, you know, some people could have like 20 nether ingots and not market themselves, so nobody's gonna buy them, so they're not gonna make any money. Somebody with one could market themselves really well and still get, you know, have people be like, oh, I want to buy from them. Or I'm not saying that they would have to sell everything at the standard. Like, you can have incentives that would be built off of the standard. Find out what I would
Now,
do.
it's not a standard. It's a hard minimum. It's not an average. It's a hard minimum that you would have to follow no matter what you do or how you do it. You must sell your item at not lower than this price.
Yeah, because at any certain point, if you start selling it below, the competition is going to become like pointless. Like, if get back to the netherite example, where if you start selling it at 15, there's no point of competing because there's better ways to make money. So the whole
Then
point
don't compete with it. Don't compete with it. The moment that the user that is selling it for very cheap prices realizes that no one is trying to like match their prices, they're going to rise them up. Why? Because they already have everyone buying from them. It's that simple. If anyone wants to sell something for an extremely low price, they will either run out of stock quickly, or will completely outplay the rest of the economy and will eventually be able to raise the prices up again.
Yeah, but it's completely based off of a finite amount. So
Precisely. It has an intrinsic value. No matter for how much you're selling the item, it still has an intrinsic value, and the item is limited. it is going to raise in value eventually then. And them who can keep the price that they have right now is who is going to be making the most bank. So
Yeah.
I don't see why there's a need to regulate a price.
Well, the main reasoning that I would have a minimum is that there would be less, like there wouldn't be any conflict between towns or nations, like within the main exports, because I know there's a lot of people that, like selling one thing and aren't really a fan of the people that deliberately go out of their way to sell lower than them. Like I understand that it's competition and that, being competitive with your pricing is how you make money, but doing that to some degree could cause problems, which is why I would want to have a minimum. So at least if there were to be some kind of conflict, it would just end up in a stalemate where people would have even prices.
What was I gonna say? Fuck. You got me. What you're saying is that towns are going to uh, battle each other on the premise that you are trying to outsell me, me, type shit. When in reality, a shop is run independently. The town is an entity by itself, and them who is selling is an individual. If two individuals have an issue, why are we talking about how towns getting into an issue? Like
Can you
I don't.
repeat that real quick? The way you're describing it is getting confusing.
It is an individual who sells an item. It's not a town. There's no reason why two towns would get in a war just because someone is outselling the other one. It will be the individuals. It will be individual interests, um, which the reason behind, as opposed to war, as you are suggesting, a conflict between these two nations.
Well, not necessarily a war, but it could just be like
I'm going to interject. I think we've kind of paved the creek a while. Mart, you made some really good points. Nico, thank you for bringing up the issue. I think what we can do is have a committee that can issue a pamphlet that has standardized prices just to act as a guideline, and to Mart's point, is not the end all be all, where we have individual town markets establish their own prices and they can take the recommendation of the pamphlet that the committee issues. So I apologize for interjecting you
you're
two,
good.
but I think we're beating a dead horse, and I think we need to move on to another topic of discussion, and we can deliberate this in committee. So,
Okie dokie. I gotta use the bathroom now.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think I made my point clear. If I can add something else that's not fully to do with the topic,
Yeah,
I just want to
please.
say that remember that everything that's being discussed here will be enforced by you, not by me. So people can really, if you want to, if you want to enforce a standardized pricing, that is up to you to enforce it on the people, not up to me. I just want to make that very
Yeah.
clear. The World
And
Assembly is a
Nikki,
player-run entity in
that
which
is
I'm just
fair.
giving my opinion. That goes with
No, thank you.
absolutely everything.
Very valid. So, thank you for that.
Thank you for your time. I got nothing else to add.
So everyone, I made a proposals channel after we were done with the World Assembly. I'll post all the proposals that were proposed in the discussion, so you can go off of that more in detail. So, anyone else have any other things they want to go ahead and say? Or go ahead, Wolfox.
I have a mini proposal of or Rovan would like to put forward a mini proposal of a, um, World Assembly, I don't know if sponsored might be the right word, sponsored food bank run by all the towns a part of the World Assembly. So that way, food and basic supplies will always be available to like new players and old players or players that like are returning. Um, and everyone, of course, would be hopefully be able to supply it in one way or another.
Mm-hmm. Anyone have anything to add to that? Want to speak? Here we go. Go ahead, Ruby.
Well, I think this is a nice sentiment. I do think it is a little unnecessary. Not only considering that this is the food is very cheap at the moment, and the fact that you can get quite a bit of cash just from voting makes it so that new players and returning players should have no issue whatsoever getting food. Like it's a nice sentiment, but I just think it's a little unnecessary and would be a waste of a slight waste of WA resources and time. Yeah, there you go. What Sleeza said in chat. Radiant sells bread for 0.01 each for the exact purpose. It's already being done. I do like the idea. I just don't think it's necessary.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else want to add anything onto that? I think we're done with this topic at least. So I'm gonna go ahead and move you back to audience. And anyone else have anything else they want to suggest or propose, please?
Just a wherewithal. I think we're gonna bring this meeting to a wraps. I'm gonna stall to give people last minute times to think of ideas, but we have created a kind of forum as to where we can create committee threads, and then each kind of committee can have multiple members, and feel free to join the discussion and elect kind of a committee head, if you will, that can be the spokesperson for next World Assembly meeting. I just want to thank each and every one of you for taking time, out of your busy weeks and lives, and really giving back to the Kingdom's MC server and really taking this server to the next level. It's going to take each and every one of you as an agent of change to really make the impact that takes this server to new heights. And I just wanted to say thank you for Crunchy and each and every one of the amazing fellow Minecraft gamers here for taking the opportunity to make this the amazing event that it is.
Well, as Joe said, yes, I think we should take this meeting to a close now. Thank you for everyone for attending and actually being here. And I know that Cop Top wants to go ahead and say something, so here you go.
Not gonna lie, I was making a TikTok, it caught me off guard. Look. First of all, I want to thank everyone for participating in this event. Shit's been really cool, honestly. I'm very happy to see this, like, the buildings, everything, people participating. I motioned that Ilyana should have a shower, first of all. That's the first thing I should say, but, like, being serious, thank you all for trusting us, for, like, being part of this community, like, actually participating and building, making this great community that, honestly, I think we should keep safe. We should keep building.
Well, thank you, Cop Top. And thank you everyone for being here, and y'all can go ahead and just go back to what you were doing. See ya.